Welcome, students. This is week 4 of our lecture. We're halfway done with our English 105 class. Time has gone by so fast. It always does in all of these classes because for me, I have such fun teaching all these classes that the time just flies when you're having fun. So this week, we're going to talk about the parts of an essay, and we're going to talk about how to insert a counter-argument and rebuttal paragraph into our essay, as well as the parts of an introduction, parts of a conclusion, as well as plagiarism, just like I promised before. So let's get started. So when we write the introduction, when we write an essay, we have 3 parts: an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. When we write the introduction, we have 3 parts. And this is reviewed from your English 101 class. You have your hook, where you grab the reader's attention with a sentence. This can be a unusual fact, a quotation, or a story. Then you write 5 background sentences where you state the problem and you draw the reader into your essay, where you tell the reader, you define the topic of your, in other words, you define the parameters of your topic in 5 sentences. This is all before your thesis statement. So first you have the hook, 5 background sentences where you state the problem. Then you have your thesis statement where you state the main idea. This is all review, by the way, where you state the main idea of your thesis as the last sentence of the first paragraph. So that hasn't changed from English 101. What has changed is that normally you would then write reason 1, reason 2, reason 3, and then your conclusion, and then you have your 5-paragraph essay structure. So what changes in this class is that we're going to add a counter-argument paragraph and a rebuttal paragraph. So instead of having reason 1, 2, and 3 right after the introduction, you're going to write a counter-argument paragraph. A counter-argument paragraph is when you state the other side of the issue. So let's say I'm going to write a counter-argument paragraph about smoking. Many people think that smoking is glamorous. Proponents of smoking tell you that, oh, smoking is especially vaping, is okay because when you have secondhand smoke, it's just water vapor. And then proponents, many people think that vaping is safe and it even looks glamorous and it tastes really good because it comes in many different flavors. Now, when we study our templates, I will teach you many different ways instead of just saying, many people think, many people think, many people think. But basically, you're going to write the other side, and I will teach you the different templates of how to write many people think. So basically, your counter-argument paragraph states what the other side thinks. So that would be your 2nd paragraph. Then your 3rd paragraph would be your rebuttal. Well, vaping actually isn't very safe. Now, people may say that the water vapor is harmless, but in reality, the water vapor that comes out of vaping does have harmful carcinogenic chemicals. And no, vaping is not safe for you because vaping has nicotine, which is very addictive. So you notice that I rebut everything that the other side said. And then you would write in, then the next, so that's called the rebuttal paragraph, where you rebut the other side. So you're going to have 1 paragraph that states what the other side thinks. So that comes right after your introduction. Then you write your other side, your argument, your thesis statement actually is smoking is harmful because it causes smoking and vaping are harmful to one's health because they both cause cancer, different kinds of cancers. And then after you write your rebuttal paragraph, then you would continue with your normal 5-paragraph essay. Smoking causes lung cancer, smoking causes throat cancer, smoking causes stomach cancer, because that was part of the thesis statement. So the only difference is that you add in a counter-argument paragraph and a rebuttal paragraph. And so that's what you're going to be writing for your argumentative essay in this class. So instead of simply writing a persuasive essay where you just simply write smoking is bad for someone's health because it causes lung cancer, stomach cancer, and throat cancer, then your body paragraphs become smoking causes stomach cancer, smoking causes throat cancer, smoking causes lung cancer. And then you have your conclusion. That was English 101, your persuasive essay, where you were convincing someone of your point of view. Now with an argumentative essay, you are going to write about what the other side says. You're going to rebut the other side. Then you continue on with your 5-paragraph essay structure. So basically, instead of 5 paragraphs in English 101, in English 105, you're going to write a 7-paragraph essay structure. Now, there are many other ways in which I can insert the counter-argument and the rebuttal into an essay. But this week, I'm just going to go over what I call the block method, where you just simply stick in all of what everybody says, everybody on the other side says in one paragraph, counter-argument, and then all of what you want to say in your paragraph in one paragraph, in the middle of, so that's known as a block method argumentative essay. I will teach you the alternate method as well as a turnabout paragraph, which I think I mentioned in my English 101 class when I gave you guys all the different kinds of paragraphs. I mentioned briefly a turnabout introduction paragraph. So I will go over that later. Right now, I just want you guys to learn what is a counter-argument paragraph. And that's simply stating what the other side thinks. Now you're thinking, but I don't know what the other side thinks. That's how you do that's when you do research and you've got to look up the articles and you research, well, what does the other side think? Just like the other side of gun control. So you would say on the other side, they think that, that's why you have your book, They Think, I Say. So they think that gun control isn't necessary. They think that if people can be trained in properly using guns, then gun control isn't necessary. And then your side might be something like, well, gun control is necessary because. So whatever your argument is the rebuttal, and whatever the other side thinks, that's the counter argument. And so you would stick the counter argument paragraph and the rebuttal in the middle of your 5-paragraph essay structure. And that's known as the block method. So I will go over a lot more examples, and I will be doing a different lecture on the different templates of how you can write an effective counter argument instead of just saying they say, and other people think. There's actually many different ways of saying other people think. And so I will go over that when I go over the templates located in your He Say, They Say book. And that's when and people who have had my previous classes know I do this, is in which I'm no longer visible and I just simply videotape what I have on my screen, and it would just be like the document, and you hear my voice talking about the document saying, and these are the templates for such and such, and these are and that sort of thing. So it'll be that kind of a video. So when I do my lectures like this one, I'm simply just introducing to you the idea of what it is. And then when I go over the documents in more detail, you should have already watched these lectures. So when I say the words, and in a counter-argument paragraph, you do this, then you'll know, oh, I know what that is. Yeah, that's the other side. How exactly do you write the other side? You should be at that level of, you know what a counter-argument paragraph is, but you still want to know more about how to write a better one, different ways of writing it. And when you're at that level of knowledge, that's when I will have the documents in front of you, and I will introduce to you other ways in which to say, other people say, and that sort of thing. So in this video, all I'm going to do is, so you stick in first you have your introduction, in which you have your hook, 5 background sentences, thesis statement. Then your second paragraph would be your counter-argument paragraph, where you state the other side. Then your rebuttal, where you show the weaknesses in the argument of the other side, where you rebut the other side. Then you write in your 3 reasons from your thesis statement, like you did for English 101. And that's it. And that's your argumentative essay for your final draft at the end of the class where you're going to write the whole essay, along with all the APA sources and APA in-text citations. Now, another way of doing this, well, I'll teach you that later. Okay, so I'm going to teach you how to write a counter-argument paragraph later, and I'm also going to teach you the alternate method of writing an argumentative essay, as well as a turnabout paragraph for a argumentative essay. All of those. But right now, I just want to introduce the simplest one, which is the block method for this week. And so I think that's it. Oh, and the video, that week 4 video also states that when you write the 3 reasons, you can also have, for your reason 1, you would write a confirmation. You would write, oh, well, smoking causes stomach cancer. Then in paragraph 6, you could write a appeal to emotion, where you write in the emotional implications of your topic and how that appeals, and what's the everyday, how you can apply that to everyday life. And so in that one you would say, imagine Josephine, and she's been smoking all her life. Now she can only breathe through her tube, and how sad her family is because Josephine is dying at the age of 50, which is really young to be dying, and so on. And so you would appeal to the emotion, and then right after that you write your conclusion. So in a conclusion paragraph, you then repeat the thesis as the first sentence of the last paragraph, and then you do a call to, there are many different kinds of conclusions. And for this class, you can either write a summary conclusion, or you can write a call to action summary conclusion. A call to action conclusion paragraph. And so summary conclusion paragraph is where you simply summarize the highlights of your essay. And you write about what takeaway lessons should the reader get from reading your essay without adding new information. A call to action conclusion paragraph is when you want the reader to do something about it. You want the reader to get off the couch and actually go to a protest, or write a letter to the senator, or you want to tell the reader, you've got to quit smoking, that sort of thing. And so that's a call to action. And when we write a business letter, when we write in regular business, that's when we use the call to action very, in our persuasive essays, in our argumentative essays. So out of the 2, summary or call to action, the call to action conclusion is a stronger one. It's the one that's more dynamic than the summary conclusion. But you could use either one in this class. They recommend the call to action one, so you could try to do that one instead, in which you call to action and you tell the reader, you need to get off your couch and do this, without using you and your. So you would say, Americans need to get off their couch and quit smoking. Americans need to, whatever it is your topic is for the future, in order to solve the problem. A lot of times that the conclusion and the last part of this kind of essay gives some tips on how to solve the problem. So that's pretty much it for your, and yes, I will write it all out. I will have the notes, so you don't have to be like, and also the good thing about these videos is you can stop the video and then write down what I say. So you have your introduction, you have your counter-argument paragraph, your rebuttal paragraph, your 3 reason body paragraphs, and your conclusion. That's your argumentative essay in a nutshell. So I just said it very fast. So that's the first part of my lecture. The second part of my lecture, I'm going to talk about academic integrity. In other words, plagiarism. So what exactly is plagiarism, and how do we avoid plagiarism? And so plagiarism is when you present someone else's work as your own work. In other words, you give facts and figures without giving credit to the researcher, and you present someone else's work as your work. And so at LAPU, academic integrity is integral to a sound Christian education. And LAPU's mission is to nurture in each student the biblical teachings of honesty and integrity, and to instill in each student the moral responsibility consistent with the biblical teachings of honesty and accountability. And so as a result, in order to avoid plagiarism and to avoid the students inadvertently stealing a researcher's research, LAPU has adopted APA. So if you thoroughly learn your American Psychological Association APA, and you thoroughly learn how to properly cite your sources, you can avoid plagiarism. And you can find a lot of examples of APA in your APA manual, which you can get at www.apa.org. And so I've said this, I feel like I've said it a gazillion times. That's the official website of APA. And so plagiarism is defined as, at the APA manual, defines plagiarism as the intentional or unintentional plagiarism in writing or orally. In other words, you unintentionally take someone else, you intentionally or unintentionally take someone else's work as your own, okay, without giving proper credit. And so that's why if you learn how to properly cite your direct quotes and your paraphrase quotes, you can avoid plagiarism. And so by now, you should have already Googled signal phrases, so you know many different ways in which to cite a source. And I think I would have by this time already taught you this. So plagiarism is the unintentional or intentional taking of someone else's research. And so if it's unintentional, then you can learn APA and then avoid the whole thing altogether. Self-plagiarism. Now this is something that students are not very familiar with. Self-plagiarism is if you submit an assignment to a class. Each assignment you can only submit once. You cannot resubmit the same assignment to many different classes, because that's like double dipping, because then you're using the same assignment in order to get credit that you've already gotten credit for in another class. So that's called self-plagiarism, because you're the one who wrote the paper, but you're double dipping and using that same paper over and over again. That's self-plagiarism, because you're plagiarizing yourself. And yes, that does show up on Turnitin. So let's say I take Psychology 101 and I write a paper about how the pandemic has caused so much depression, all right? And let's say I get lazy and I don't feel like writing another paper, and I take Psychology 103 or something, and I want to reuse the same paper. So I hand in my same pandemic causes depression paper. Ta-da! Turnitin is going to say 100% you plagiarized yourself, because you turned in that same paper at another class. And then your teacher is going to see 100% plagiarism and give you a big fat F. So no, you cannot use the same paper twice. You have to, for every class and every assignment, you've got to write a new paper. And so if you want to reuse an old paper, you have to get your instructor's permission. And then if you reuse the same paper, you can only reuse 20% of that old paper, and then the 80% has to be brand new. So bottom line is, it's better to just simply write a whole new paper to avoid self-plagiarizing yourself. And this is so confusing to students, because students are like, but I wrote that paper, how could it be plagiarism? I didn't steal it from someone else, I did that research. Yeah, and you did that research for Psych 101, and it stays in Psych 101. It's kind of like what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. So what goes on in Psych 101 stays in Psych 101. Once you exit Psych 101 and go to Psych 103, it's a brand new ball game, brand new paper and all that kind of stuff. So you want to avoid self-plagiarism by always writing new papers. And then cheating, another kind of of plagiarism is using unauthorized material or unauthorized collaboration, meaning you have someone else write your paper for you, or you have someone else pretend to be you online. So that's also considered. This is more traditional plagiarism that students understand. It's the self-plagiarism one that everyone goes, what's that? You know? So cheating and having someone write your paper for you is considered plagiarism. Fabrication. If you just make up the facts off the top of your head and then you make up all of these sources that you never really researched, that's also plagiarism. So invention of any information of academic work is considered plagiarism. So fabrication is also plagiarism. And other forms of plagiarism is if you write a paper for someone else, someone writes a paper for you, or you upload your paper to a third-party website so that everybody else can then copy off of your paper to get an A for their assignment. That doesn't work anymore because Turnitin, as soon as you turn in your paper, Turnitin has it in a database. So if you upload that same paper to somewhere else, Turnitin will have it, and then that poor student who is dumb enough to copy your paper will then end up with a 100% plagiarism score and a big fat F on their assignment. So it doesn't pay to plagiarize. And so it's much better to come up with your own original paper and maintain the academic integrity of honesty of biblical teachings at LAPU. So I hope that this gives and sanctions. Okay, so if you're a first offender of plagiarism, and your teacher in conjunction with the dean can either give you an F on the assignment, or they can give you an F on the whole course, depending on case by case. And if you're a repeat offender, in other words, you keep plagiarizing, you could be expelled from the university. So then it's the dean who then decides, that, okay? And then the students may appeal. So let's say you get accused of plagiarism, and let's say you get an F on a class. You get expelled from school, and you think that's not fair. So then students have the right to appeal the sanctions or the punitive sanctions of plagiarism by looking at the grievance policy in your student catalog. So I'm not going to go over the appeal process, but then you could talk to your student success coach, and she will know in excruciating detail what your rights are, and if you need to appeal and all that kind of stuff. And if you want even more information on plagiarism, once again, your student success coach will know in excruciating detail how to go about to the appeal process, or if you're confused about the little itty-bitty details of what is plagiarism. If I missed something, the student success coach knows it all. I mean, they know everything. So if you have a problem and with a teacher, or you have a problem with you don't understand what plagiarism is, or whatever it is, you could go either to your teacher or to your student success coach. I always recommend students to reach out to me if they have any questions. I've often found that the students who ask the most questions are the ones that get the best grades. Believe it or not, it's the people who are into every little detail. Those are the ones that get the A, and it's the students that I call, and always a busy number. Nobody's ever there. No one's ever into the forums, and no participation. Those are the students that do poorly in the class. So I'm just saying that reaching out to your teacher will usually result in a better grade, because then you learn more, okay? So always reach out to me if you need help with APA, or you don't know how to do your thesis statement, you don't quite understand what's a counter-argument paragraph, you don't understand what the template is talking about, all of that sort of thing, okay? So that pretty much winds up my week 4 lecture on the parts of an essay. the parts of an essay, parts of an introduction, parts of a conclusion, as well as, and in the week 4 forum, we will talk about what is academic integrity. What does that mean to you? And how do you observe academic integrity? Have you ever seen other people cheating, and then what happened to them? And I could tell you that when I was a kid, and that was before the internet, I would see people cheating by, they would wear a long sleeve, write the answers right on their arm, and I would see them taking a test going like this. They write the answer. Or they would sit in the back of some smart kid and they'll be doing like this. And then write down the answer. Yeah, I've seen a lot of cheating. And I remember when I was working at a face-to-face school, and I was in charge of looking over the computer section. So then I would see kids cutting and pasting huge parts of websites into their paper, and I would tell them, that's plagiarism. You're not citing your sources. And so it's so easy with the internet to just cut and paste someone else's stuff. This was before Turnitin. So now with Turnitin, students can't do that anymore, because then Turnitin will turn you in a way. Interesting name. So if you have any questions, and then another thing I didn't mention, when you see your Turnitin score, if the color is yellow or red, then you need to either get rid of your citations, or you need to cite your citations, or wherever the yellow and red, in other words, wherever it is that Turnitin says you've cheated, you might have to delete all of that and just put in your own words. So there are many ways in which you can lower your score, is by citing the source, using fewer citations, using more of your original thought. So those are some of the ways in which you can lower your score, and using pie structure, in other words, using only one in-text citation per paragraph. And that way you increase the amount of original thought, because the whole thing is, when you write a paper, we want to read what you think. We don't want a regurgitation of what everybody else thinks. That's what happens when you use too many in-text citations, and all it is just a hodgepodge of other people's research and none of your original thought. So it should only be a small fraction should be an in-text citation, and the rest of it, that is the rest of your paper, should be about what you think, and then you just use the in-text citation to support your thesis. And to make your paper more credible. So I hope that all of this makes sense to you, and we're halfway through the class. Can you believe it? It's gone so fast. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to email me, and I will go over more. I can't really see without my notes what we're doing for week 5. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me.